God forbid someone make a movie about politics in 2020. Seriously, God, please forbid it. 11th Commandment. Eddington, I watched it. I didn't want to watch it. And it was exactly what I expected and what anyone should expect from the trailers. If you want to watch a political movie about 2020 and the pandemic, you get it. And it is just painful. Painful. Somewhere along the line in 2020, Ari Aster was like, oh my gosh, life is scary right now. This is a good movie. Script. Good idea for a movie. It wasn't. It just wasn't. Maybe if I was into like poli-sci or something, I would understand this movie more. This movie had like everything political in it. Anti-vax, anti-conspiracy, social media, anti-corporate, corporate, homelessness, kids being little shits. Yeah, all you can name it. And my main question is, how is my boy Damien Chazelle in director jail for making a 3-hour love fest about film, Babylon and La La Land back to back, and this man gets to make a big old monster penis in his last movie, and then now he gets to make this whole convoluted drama about 2020? And it's just straight poop, dude. It's buns. And yes, 2020 was crazy. I'll give him that. But this movie exaggerates and makes these political things almost extremities that gets rid of the reality and realism of the subject, that kind of just negates the fact that it's supposed to be political and it's supposed to mean something, because now it's just in its world of its own. And I know the whole idea is, hey, I'm the sheriff of this town, all this stuff is happening there, it's not happening here, which kind of sounds like I have that same sentiment too, which I don't. But when you have a plane full of Antifa terrorists go to a town of 2,000 people to just like mutilate and kill them, I don't get it. I just like, it didn't connect. I just think that's so absurd. Who knows? Maybe this stuff is happening, you know? But I mean, on the other side, there are like, this deals with conspiracy, anti-conspiracy stuff, which, cool, I get it too. I don't care, you know? And I guess it kind of goes into this idea of like, whose narrative should you trust? Which, again, is just so convoluting. And I just feel like as a director, it's kind of self-absorbing, like, oh, this is an untrustworthy narrative. And it goes into like anti-conspiracies and conspiracy, like radio, right-wing media, social media, all this stuff you're seeing to see if it's true or not. And it's just like, oh, we get it. It's not that I don't need to see it in a movie, I just don't need to see it in a movie where it's telling a bunch of different things or trying to show a bunch of things. Like, just hone on one political problem. Maybe it would be better. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of political dramas or movies. And now, I'm not a fan of Ari Aster. I'm going to say it. I loved Hereditary. I loved Midsummer. Midsummer was what made me watch movies and start going to the movies every Thursday. And it's just, Beau is Afraid came out, I exploded in my head, and then now my brain is just throbbing after watching this movie. It was just a headache. And yeah, I guess I'm not a political guy, okay? So maybe that's my fault, going into a political movie, going in needing to pee, and was like, nah, I'll just wait till there's a bad part of the movie to go pee because I don't want to watch this movie. Yes, that was me. Maybe I didn't give it a chance. Maybe I should. But no, I won't. Because I didn't like it. I do, however, want to say the third act was actually pretty fun. Like, if it wasn't about all this political mumbo-jumbo and about, you know, yeah, pretty much that. I mean, the action sequences were pretty cool. They did one scene where, like, Joaquin Phoenix, main dude, Joe Cross, they're like reaching over his shoulder with a gun, and then they just do a whole pan of his whole surroundings, which was very suspenseful and very good. And honestly, I think Ari Aster did a good job of keeping this movie suspenseful, but I think it also just helped that, you know, he's known as kind of a psychological horror guy, so I was a little anxious at times. I will give him that. I will give him that. Was I anxious that I was going to see a weird giant penis? Maybe. Was I anxious that someone was going to die? A little bit more. But, I mean, I honestly didn't really care about anyone anyway, so if they did die, boo-hoo. I do think this movie has a lot to say, which is good, but I just think it had too much to say in the time frame that it had. And I think Ari Aster kind of put too much on his plate to try to expose what happened in 2020, or at least give us an exposure to it. And it just didn't work out, in my view. Even trying to explain the movie, it doesn't really make sense. The sheriff gets mad about anti-vax policies, targets the mayor, then it goes on to some weird family mumbo-jumbo where the mayor is accused of SAing the sheriff's wife, but it was actually the sheriff's wife's dad that SA'd her, so they ended up she ended up joining a cult because the sheriff let it all out in his mayoral campaign. Then the George Floyd thing starts, and then there's anti-police protests, and then it just goes on and on about what happened in 2020, and it's just like, really, I really paid $6. I'm a college kid, I'm cheap, I'm broke, and to just relive what I've already lived, at least, or I can still live online if I go to the right subreddits. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of highbrow content. I feel like these horror genre directors, much like Jordan Peele, have gone into this idea of like, you need to read in between the lines, and if a movie can't be enjoyable without reading in between the lines, then I just don't think the movie should be enjoyable, or it's just not. Like, I'm a normal person, okay, and I know people go to movies to analyze movies, and I know this is a movie you're supposed to analyze, but movies can both be a film to analyze and something entertaining to watch. They don't need to be separate. The best movies are when they are both. There's movies out like Jurassic World that aren't meant to be analyzed. They're meant for pure entertainment, which is okay. I like those movies because, you know, it could only go so far and it stops. You know, like, you have to realize you can't read into those movies. Then you have the opposite effect where these movies are no longer enjoyable and they just want you to analyze it, and it's just like, why should I be doing homework for a movie? You know? That's what the movie's supposed to show. This movie just falls into the realm of that. Although it's very blunt and very telling, it also just begs for you to look into it more. And we're exhausted. We're already exhausted about these topics. Why would we exhaust ourselves for this? If you guys want to disagree with me in the comments, that's fine. Go for it. If not, and you liked and you want to agree, also do that. Like, subscribe, whatever. Thank you for sitting through this whole video, and you guys have a good one. See you next week.